So, Gaur Purnima, the most special day of the year. It's the day that mercy has fallen upon the people of this world. So, normally on a Purnima, and especially if I don't know if many of you know much about astrology, but on Purnima, especially this Purnima, is a tradition. It's a lunar eclipse time. So eclipses are quite scary, especially for the ancient world. You know, you see your luminary, the sun or the moon, and then all of a sudden, darkness will envelop the luminary. There's a lot of, I don't know if any of you are astrology buffs, but when this happens, it's like, stay inside and pray. You know, that's what you do, or really focus on praying. So, I should know the exact year, that would be ideal. But 550 years ago, this eclipse was happening. And so what they would do, especially in Navadvip, where Lord Chaitanya appeared, is they would go to the Ganga, the holy river, and they would go there to bathe, and to February 18th, 1486. Thank you, Mukunda. Everyone needs someone like Mukunda in their life. What is it? February 18th? 1846. So, wait, 1846?
1486.
Okay, I was going to say, wait a second, that is not that long ago. In 1486, Lord Chaitanya, he appeared in the midst of this lunar eclipse, which was like not ideal normally, but something that's happening, especially in the community of Vaishnavas, when there's an eclipse, people will ramp up their spiritual practices. It's recommended to ramp up your spiritual practices, or you're going to get tossed and turned by the material energies, which right now, if you look, darkness is enveloping the luminary. So darkness is overcoming light. That's kind of what's happening during an eclipse. So during that time, we naturally, especially naturally for the ancient civilizations, they're chanting to God. Hurry, hurry, they're all calling out, hurry, hurry, it's resounding across the Ganga. And that's how Lord Chaitanya wanted to come into this world, with everyone, thousands, millions of people chanting, hurry, 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 hurry. And naturally, when Lord Chaitanya was a baby, he would cry all the time. But the ladies of Navadvip, they figured something out. How do we get this beautiful boy to just shut up, just stop crying, please. Please stop crying. And he's so beautiful. They don't want him to shut up. They actually just want him to see him happy, see him smile. So they found out the way, and do you know how to do it?
Chant the holy name.
Yeah. Hurry, hurry. They would call out the names of Hari. And Lord Chaitanya, he would cry, and then he'd hear this, and he'd be like, oh wow, I like this. So this is the way to please Lord Chaitanya. Even from a baby, this was the way. So I'm going to take you guys to Dwarka. You know Dwarka? Actually, our good fortune, we got to visit Dwarka. It's very like a remote holy place. It's nice. In India, you go to Vrindavan now, it's so built up and just, you're getting tossed and turned. There's, at every corner there's someone trying to sell you something, or, especially you have white skin in India and everyone's like, oh, he's rich. Or, or at the very least, I'm going to cheat this guy, but, so that you're always dealing that. But within Dwarka, it's a bit of a different dynamic, because it's a bit more remote in India. So it's really nice. It was very charming. It was the first time we visited this past few weeks back. But in spiritual Dwarka, in the spiritual world, there's Krishna's kingdom called Dwarka. And Krishna is sitting in his kingdom, And all of a sudden, two things are happening. You've heard of Narada Muni?
Mm-hmm.
So Narada Muni is like a transcendental spaceman. He's like a great sage, and he's always doing something. Actually, what we were praying to in that bhajan, he's always doing this. He's always chanting the names, Hari, Hari, with tears coming in the eyes and choked up. This is what he's always doing, always chanting like this. I had a book. May I have that book? So Narada Muni is always chanting like this. And he visits Dwarka. But first, he sees it's Kali Yuga. And the people have become so sinful. It's mentioned in here. Let me see what I can say. Yeah, in Satya Yuga, it says the scriptures say that Dharma is like religion, has 4 limbs. Everyone's merciful on others. Everyone's full of mercy for others. Everyone's quite clean. Like very practicing, making sure they're always bathing. The heart is clean, the intentions are clean, no cheating, no nonsense in the heart. Everyone's quite austere, austerity. I'm going to do my spiritual practices, I'm disciplined. Every day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to devote all things in this way. And then last, they're truthful, they're always honest. I have to tell the truth. This is Satya Yuga. But each yuga, a limb of Dharma gets lost. So austerity, first to go. People's discipline. And Treta Yuga, see you later, austerity. But still they're clean. They're truthful. And then what's the last one? They're merciful still. And then comes Dwapar Yuga. And then they lose, what is it? They lose mercy. So now this is maybe, say, eating meat might become more prominent, war might become more prominent, not so merciful on other living entities. But still they're clean and then still they're truthful. But then in Kali Yuga, throw cleanliness out the window and the only thing that might be left is some honesty. But the way Kali Yuga is progressing, that's to be erased as well. All virtue is to be erased as the Yuga cycles go towards destruction, and we're at the tail end, gliding down towards destruction. Does anyone maybe feel that in this world around you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a little. It's obvious, right? Even when I was a kid, things were so much more innocent. And when I was a kid, I'm 30 and 31 years old, and like the world was so much more innocent, but just. It's getting worse and worse and worse. People are cheating more and more and more and becoming more lusty, more greedy, more angry. The quality of life. We have all this wonderful technology, but people are working harder and harder and harder and harder just to get by. The quality of life is being lost. Even in the high-class civilizations like supposedly America is supposed to be. The land of opportunity. Where the American dream is. And it's harder than ever here. It's harder than ever. This is a symptom of Kali Yuga. And it's going to get harder and harder. So Narada Muni, he saw this. And he was lamenting. Why? Who will save them? Who will save these people? They care less and less about God. They care less and less about spiritual life. And they just care more and more about these temporary material things which can give them no happiness. And it's just so degrading to watch them exist like this. It's so degrading to watch, people just care about nonsense. It's like going to an insane asylum and see like, you guys know Plato? Great, like Greek. Is it Greek? Yeah, right? Western philosopher. He gave the analogy of people making like shadow puppets in a cave. And this is what everyone's focusing their time and their energy and attention on. And the analogy is like all of our games, we play, maybe we care so much about, one thing's maybe some obvious, maybe like sports or chasing wealth or, for me, women, the object of attraction, all these things, it's just, it's temporary. Logically, I know this is not going to make me happy, but still, somehow or other, it's rooted in the heart that we want to chase these things. So Narada Muni, he saw this, and he was just lamenting. How can we help them? Because that's what great saints and sages do. They devote their lives to others, for the welfare of others. It's not about themselves. They've already actually achieved the happiness. He just chants the name of God, and he's got tears coming from the eyes. He's figured it out. But still, we want to help others. He's merciful. He's most merciful. So he wants to help the people of this age who are just suffering due to our ignorance. We chase these things, and then naturally the laws of karma have to punish us a little bit. It's just natural. When we are sinful, we have to be punished a little bit. It's right. It has to happen that way. When we don't do right, the world that's the correction of the nature of the world. So Narada Muni didn't like seeing this. He didn't like people's lives hampered. So he's like, I gotta go to Dwarka. We have to approach Krishna. He'll know what to do about this. So at the same time, he's like, I'm going to Dwarka. And then Krishna, at the same time, his dearest wife, well, not necessarily dearest wife, but the chief queen, what's her name? What's that? Rukmini, yes. If you go to Dwarka, the main temple is Rukmini Dwarkadish. So Rukmini is Krishna's chief wife. And she's so excited, Krishna, he was to come to her palace at that day. So palace is sparkling clean, the most opulent, there's jewels, gold everywhere. If you go to Dwarka, if you go to Dwarka now in India, it doesn't look like this. But the actual Dwarka in the spiritual world, it's just the most opulent place. And so she's coming, she's like, yes, Krishna will be here. And she's just so excited. I mean, this is kind of like weird in Western culture, but she's just so excited to like hold the feet of Krishna. Like that's like what, and actually all the great devotees, this is what their desire is. I just want Krishna's feet. I just want his lotus feet. Not only are they beautiful, but this is what one does. It's very well known in Vedic culture. When you see your elder, you go and you touch their feet. You say, like, it's kind of an offering of respect. So naturally, the supreme person, just to grasp their feet is like the greatest mercy. So Rukmini just wanted to like grab Krishna's feet and hold them, actually it's like to her breast, to hold them very dear to her, like snuggle them in kind of thing. So she sets Krishna down, she treats him properly, feeds him properly. And then she sees Krishna and she holds his feet to her breasts. And she's actually like crying in ecstasy. So Krishna is now confused, like, why are you crying? What are you crying about? And she's actually crying because she's thinking like how much that she loves Krishna's feet. Not just his feet, but she loves Krishna. And I'm going to kind of get the story straight. But at the same time, well, here we go. At the same time, she's like, but I don't love you nearly as much as Radha loves you. So word goes around Dwarka that, Krishna at night, he will cry and say, "Oh, hey Radha, oh Radha." It's like, "Oh Radha." Like, imagine, you're sleeping next to your significant other, and then he's like crying for someone else in his dreams. So this is like what Krishna is doing. "Oh Radha, oh Radha, oh Radha." So, naturally, the wives, they love Krishna so much, but they're like, what does she have? What is it that she has that we don't have? So they hear about how, in their youth, how much she serves Krishna with just such an intensity that there's no other consideration other than how she serves Krishna. And actually, we hope to one day just get a little fragment of the dust of Radha in how she serves. That we can serve in such like 1/billionth of the way she serves, and we can be so happy like that. So Rukmini actually wants this. So she's like crying to Krishna, and he's like astonished that he's like, and she's like, "Don't you know like what?" But he's like, "I don't know. I don't know what that feels like. I actually have no idea." So at that moment, Narada Muni, he shows up on the scene, and he's quite disturbed, quite distressed about the situation in Kali Yuga. So he comes to Krishna and Rukmini, and of course they worship him. "Oh, great sage, so nice to see you." And Narada Muni, he says to Krishna what he's lamenting about. How can we help these people? And so Krishna, he hears Rukmini's plea, like, "You don't know what Radha's love is like, and you can't tell me?" And at the same time, he hears Narada Muni's plea, "How will you help them?" And so he decides, "I have a great idea. I will go and I will come into Kali Yuga and reveal such a form in which I can learn to taste this, in which I can learn to try and understand Radha's mood. I will become my own devotee. And at the same time, I will teach all these more sinful, struggling living entities in Kali Yuga. I'll save them. And I'll give Harinam." So that's actually what he decided to do. So, here on earth, that was in Dwarka, here on earth, Advaita Acharya is wandering, and he's just like Narada Muni. These sinful people, what will we do with them? Advaita Acharya is trying to do what we're trying to do. Trying to invite people to just, hey, Krishna's got some answers for you. Krishna's got something nice for you. Take to spiritual life. It'll help. It'll be nice. But most people, they don't care. You go. I know, because I'll sit up with like a book table or something, and I'll go up and I'll try and talk to people. Most people just don't want to talk about anything to do with spiritual life. Even though, like, you can, like, hey, like, all your suffering, all the things that are really, like, bogging you down, it's like, gives you an answer for all of that. Nonsense. I gotta figure it out. I got my, my Netflix at home, whatever they're focusing on, So Advaita Acharya, he was really bummed out. And so, there's a verse in the Bhagavatam that saying all you have to do is worship the Lord with tulsi leaves and Ganga water, and He'll fulfill any desire that you want. It's in the Bhagavatam. You could try it if you want. Maybe you go get some tulsi leaves, some Ganga water, and just make some offer to the Lord. Ganga. So it's water from the whole, like the very sacred river, the Ganges. So Advaita Acharya says, fine. The Lord will have to fulfill my desire like this. So Advaita Acharya was quite austere. He said, I'm not going to eat until the Lord fulfills my desire. and I'm going to go to the Ganges River, and I'm going to worship her, and I'm going to beg that she fulfills my desire by offering her own water, the Ganges water, and tulsi leaves. Have you heard this pastime before? So Advaita Acharya, this is what he's doing. And he's very intensely worshipping, offering the water and the leaves with such devotion, chanting the names of God all along the way. And he's saying, I will not eat, I'll die if you don't fulfill my desire. And do you know what his desire was? His desire was that the Lord were to come now and to save these sinful people. So this was in the year, 1486, he said? In the year
1492, was it?
That's Columbus. This is Lord Chaitanya. Close enough, Ali. So he's just worshipping intensely and says, I'll die. I'll kill myself if you don't reveal yourself to me. And he had such intensity, such commitment. If we could have just a fragment of that commitment, imagine what we could do. But unfortunately, a little bit of commitment. Or you wouldn't be here today on Gaur Purnima. We all have some commitment, right? To do this today. So Advaita Acharya had the most commitment. I'm just going to do straight worship, and if my desire isn't fulfilled, I'll just die. No problem. He was ready. So he worshipped and he was fasting for days on days and days, offering every day the water and the tulsi leaves with prayers, and just over and over offering. And finally, his desire was fulfilled. Deep in his meditation, he had like a sphurti. Sphurti is like a vision. He had like a sphurti. He said, okay, you've conquered me, I'm coming. And actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this form, in his most beautiful Gauranga form, appeared to Advaita Acharya, and he was just mesmerized, like, oh my God, who are you? He said, go back to your family, go back and continue, prepare the way for me. I'm coming, but I need you to, go and tell people that I'm coming. Tell people to worship Krishna. Tell people to devote themselves in a spiritual way, to cut this nonsense, but I'm coming, I promise you, I'm coming. So he revealed this form, and Advaita Acharya is in ecstasy, he's crying, he's like, this is amazing. Finally, the answer to my prayers. Imagine if we just put a little bit of intensity into our worship, what could be achieved? Advaita Acharya had the Lord come from the spiritual world to this world, just by worshipping with Ganges water and tulsi leaves. Will we do something, anything similar? Will we offer anything to the Lord with even a little bit of intensity? So lo and behold, to fulfill all of those desires, and then the top reason is that Krishna, even though he is the ultimate person and he is always satisfied, he doesn't get the bliss of being able to worship himself. He gets the bliss of being worshipped, but there's actually more bliss in worshipping Krishna than actually being worshipped. We all think we want to be worshipped, but look at the people who are worshipped in this world. Maybe the billionaires, the athletes, the rock stars. How happy are they? They're not that happy. You don't see them.
Take them on an individual basis.
Yeah, it depends, but still, they're not shivering in ecstasy and just chanting the name of God.
In prayer and worship.
What's
They
that?
started crying.
Who? What's that?
Haven't you ever cried in worship?
Yeah, I'm a little bit, but not. I would like to more.
Well,
I would like to be able to just
I'm
say.
an emotional girl. I do enough.
Well, that's very nice, but I would like to just be able to say Krishna's name once and just tears melt down my eyes in happiness. But I'm not there. I say Krishna and my steel cage of a heart just doesn't know, there's nothing coming. That's my unfortunate circumstance. And if that's happening for you too, there's something to yearn for. And maybe we haven't figured everything out yet. There's something to yearn for. And actually Lord Chaitanya, he wanted to taste that. Krishna wanted to taste. All my devotees, they get so much ecstasy in seeing me, worshipping me, all this. And yet I don't get to taste nearly the amount of ecstasy. So let me come and see. See what it's like. And that's actually that's the most confidential reason of why Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya. He wanted to taste what it was like to be like Radha. Radha is the topmost devotee of Krishna. She's Krishna's worshipable guru, especially in the arts of love. Krishna loves Radha the most. Her love is so attractive, which is why actually the top goal of this path that Lord Chaitanya is trying to show us, this Hare Krishna movement you're all seeing, is actually the emanation of Lord Chaitanya's path. He's trying to show us what Radha's love for Krishna is like. He's trying to teach us what that's like and how we can participate in such a love. How we can feel such a love. Not in the same way, but even if we taste a drop of that nectar, it's ecstasy. So we're like ecstasy chasers here, but not like what you're thinking, Holly. But like, we're looking for that lasting ecstasy. And all the great scriptures, they say it's in bhakti, it's in devotion, it's in worship. This is where the ecstasy lies. It lies so much so there that even Krishna's like, all right, I gotta try it out. That's why Lord Chaitanya came. He wanted to try it out too. Like I'm gonna practice being a bhakta, and that's actually Lord Chaitanya's some of the inner pastimes that Lord Chaitanya's dearest, most devotees would tell. So I was just sharing that. And then I'll tell one more pastime, because this is actually what Lord Chaitanya, he came here to do, was to establish the bhav of the Vrajabasis, what it's like for the devotees in Vrindavan, and how actually this is what the type of mood we want to ultimately understand and cultivate ourselves. What it's like to be in Krishna's innermost crew. Like for instance, there's great respected personalities. We always say like Mr. President. Who's the president now? Joe Biden? Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people feel certain ways about the presidents. I don't want to make anything political. But anyway, don't you start with me, Holly. Don't you start with me right now. So Joe Biden, he's the president. So most people might salute, hey, Mr. Biden. They know him like this. Oh, he's Mr. President. Very good. Just like we might see Mr. God. Oh, Mr. God, I worship you, and it's so nice. I love you. Please help me. I have a really tough exam. I need this career, this job. My relationship status is not what I want it to be. Please help. That's one thing. One way to approach God. Maybe some people might write Mr. Biden a letter to approach him. But some people are a bit closer, Maybe like his old high school buddies, they can hang out. Hey Joe, what's going on? Or they call each other, they tease each other, things like that. And then some people might know him even closer. His granddaughter might call him Mr. Horsey and say, let me ride on your back, Mr. Horsey. And maybe Joe Biden's on his hands and knees acting like Mr. Horsey. So similarly, with God, there's different tiers of how you can approach Him. You can approach Him from the distance, Mr. God, I worship you, I love you so much. You know, oh, Supreme Lord, or Lord of the universe. But then there might be an even more confidential. You might feel very deeply that you're the servant of God. I'm your servant, I'm your dear servant. What is it you ask? And you want to know how you can be His servant. Even more so, you may become like a friend. Like, I'm your friend. What can I do to help you? What can I do for you? How can I be of service as in the mood of friendship? And then even so much so, imagine if God took birth in your family. There's a Christmas song I really like. It goes, Mary, did you know that your baby boy... You guys know this song, right? But the essence of the song is like, did you know that that God was going to come into your family? But imagine being so dear to God. He's like, oh, I'm going to come in your family. You know, it's like the Christians, they pray like this. And actually in Vrindavan, Krishna totally came in with the whole family. And then finally, Krishna, even in Vrindavan, he's got to hide his most intimate relationship is with the gopis. And how they actually would share loving exchanges, much like young boys and young girls of this world would do. But it's completely on a different level. And it's so beautiful. So Lord Chaitanya actually, he came to share kind of that reality of God. That it's not just, oh Lord of the universe, I am an insignificant speck of dust at your feet. Yes, in reality, in logic, we're nothing in comparison to God. We have no business in logic, in even comparing ourselves. But out of intimacy, just like when you get to know someone, Parth, you invited your professor here today, right?
Yeah, you might come.
Oh.
These are my lab mates.
Oh, these are your lab mates. Okay, I thought you were the professor. So I wanted to give an example. So Bala, you're a doctor, correct?
Yes.
What do your patients call you?
Doctor.
Doctor what? What's your last name?
Murthy.
Dr. Murthy.
Right.
So they said, oh, Dr. Murthy, Dr. Murthy. So, but at one point, your patient becomes your friend.
Right.
Would you be like a little uncomfortable? You want them to call you your name. Like, please, I'm not Dr. Murthy. I'm your friend. I'm Bala, I'm like this. So similarly, when we go to God, yes, oh, Supreme God, oh, Master, oh, Lord of the universe. He might say, okay, very good. But when you get close to him, he's like, oh, please, call me Krishna. That's the relationship that Lord Chaitanya is trying to teach us. How to get more intimate with God. How to go beyond the formality of you're the master of the universe and I completely supplicate myself to you. How to exist in friendship. How to exist in even higher, in love. So, one of the ways to do that is to talk about the pastimes of the Lord and to immerse yourself in this practice. And when we were in India and Vrindavan, we tried to do that. When we'd go to the holy place, it's, yes, maybe there's an energetic frequency there and getting the energies and things, but actually the best thing to do at the holy place is to immerse yourself in the pastimes of this place. And in that way, you can actually really dive into the nectar that's present there. And it's not like you're just going to take a bath. In a few weeks here, we're going to have a pretty rare astrological event. You guys know?
The eclipse.
Yeah, there's a full solar eclipse coming through the southern part of the U.S. and it's coming up right through Syracuse.
They're actually closing schools.
Yeah. Well, it's actually good that they're doing that because it's not like we talked about with the eclipse, it's figuratively like, especially a solar eclipse, it's very intense. It's like boom, you've got the sun illuminating everything, and then everything goes dark. It's like a very telling event that darkness at that time is overcoming good, overcoming light. So during this time, like I said, the ancients, they would all pray. So Krishna and all the devotees, in ancient times, they even during a solar eclipse, they went to Kurukshetra where the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. But this was before the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, and they all went there to do prayer and sacrifice. And so when they went there, Narada and all the sages, they came, and Krishna was so happy to see them. And he said, it's our great fortune that you great sages have come here. Because if you just go to a holy place just to take a bath or do something like that, we're no better than cows or asses, actually. But the purpose of all the holy places is here with you. And now you can bless us and you can benefit us by telling us what is best for us. So this is actually Krishna, who is God. He doesn't need advice. He's giving the Bhagavad Gita. He's giving the topmost knowledge. He's got all the knowledge. But he's realizing the purpose of all these holy places is to hear from the great sages, to hear the advice of the wisdom teachers. So this is even Krishna's kind of mood. So similarly, when we were in the holy places, we tried to hear from the sages, or if, say, we couldn't hear, because there were many times where we couldn't hear, we tried to hear from the acharyas about the different pastimes, the things that would happen in these places. So that's just one little small tidbit. But to kind of close out today, one of the things to do is to hear the pastimes of Krishna. And Krishna and his devotees, Krishna and Radha are like young, beautiful, the most beautiful, young boy and young girl. They're always flirting and going back and forth and, always about play. Krishna and his friends, Radha and her friends, and they were always trying to like one-up each other and tease each other, and they would have fun like this. And so one of the things that, they might tease is they would tease Krishna. Oh, they would say, oh, you blackish boy, things like this. Not in like a, nowadays, all the alarms, the red flags are going off, racism, blah, blah, blah. But no, they would do it out of affection and love, Like, it's to be honest with you, my God is black, That's one of the specialities of Krishna, is he has a blackish color. But him and the gopis, they would like tease each other. They would always compare him to like a black serpent. You come here to poison us or to, ruin our chastity and all these things. Because Krishna would always, pull all kinds of pranks on the gopis. And so one of the pranks is like, oh, you're always commenting on my color, so I will make you colorful. So he would take like red minerals or blue dyes from flowers or minerals and things like this, and he would throw this on the gopis. And this is the origin of the holy pastimes, the festival of colors. And that's today also. And Lord Chaitanya, I think, would be very pleased that we start telling the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis. So it became actually known as springtime pastimes, is that Krishna and the gopis, they would throw colors on each other, and they would even take water syringes and do colored liquids and on each other. And so that actually stemmed a huge festival now is known as Holi, especially those of you who are Indian background. How popular is Holi?
Very.
So yeah, very, thank you. And so it's very popular. And but that actually stems from the loving exchanges of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. And that's what Lord Chaitanya was trying to indicate to us. To delve deep into this. This is where you're going to get so much nectar, so much bliss. And the easiest way to do that is I was going to talk about Lord Chaitanya's most famous prayer called the Shikshastakam. But the end of the first line goes like this: Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtana. What's that mean? It means all glories to the supreme Sankirtan movement. Just by calling the names of God, we're interacting. Yes, maybe it's from Mr. President or Mr. God, Lord of the universe. Maybe that's it from the start. But actually, we can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Just by calling more and more to God, devoting more and more to the Supreme, He will reveal more and more of Himself to you. There is, without a doubt, a supreme intelligence. This isn't all happening by accident. The seasons, everything working perfectly, even like something like a solar eclipse happening. Do you know how perfect everything has to align for even something like that to happen? It's all so perfect. For even to digest food, we have no idea how we do it, but we just like stuff things down our throat and it just like magically assimilates into like all the tissue for your body to work and things like do we ever think about how amazing like the world is around us, how there's such a vibrant intelligence? But it's not just like a computer algorithm in which we don't have to very impersonally deal with this massive intelligence, this supreme intelligence that's governing and guiding everything. We can actually very intimately relate with it. And it's not just an there's a person. There's a personality. Even there's a superior personality. The feminine, actually, this is the highest goal we're trying to achieve. How to be a servant of Radha, actually. And that's what Lord Chaitanya is trying to show. There's so much, I don't know, there's a bunch of new people here too, and I don't want to just speak over everybody's head and be like, well, what the heck are you talking about, man? So anyway, I'm going to end here. We talked a little bit about Holi. We talked a little bit about some of the pastimes of why Lord Chaitanya came. The essence of which is to teach us about the more intimate ways we can relate with God, and even to taste that Himself. That God doesn't get to experience what it's like to be a devotee of God. So He's like, well, let me show up as a devotee and I can teach others how to do it and I can experience it myself. So, that's the main reasons He came. Okay. So why don't I hear from you guys? Any questions, comments, reflections? Craig.
I was curious when you were talking about Rukmini.
Yes.
I thought Rukmini was Radharani. Yeah, sort of. It's not.
Rukmini is not Radharani.
Because the deities in LA are Rukmini Dwarkadis.
Rukmini Dwarkadis, yes. And those are the deities in the main Dwarka temple as well. So, but no, she's not Radharani. She wants to know about Radharani.
So who is she then? I guess
She's a very exalted personality. One of the topmost in Dwarka. But all of the most, you could say, the female energy are expansions of Radha. So she's connected, right? But she's her own separate personality.
Why do they name the deities Rukmini Dwarkadis?
Well, Rukmini is her name. But that's not Radha in the deities. It's Rukmini. She's her own personality and she has her own relationship with Krishna. To associate with Krishna in the married way, Rukmini is the topmost of that. Actually, arguably, Satyabhama is the topmost, and she's the most intimately connected to Radha and said to be her expansion. But Rukmini is formally the topmost queen. Of all the 16,108 queens of Krishna, Shravani, and Tanmay, and Simi, and friends, come on in. And Shivam. Happy Gaur Pranim. So, but yeah, she's her own specific, special person. But she's like the topmost queen of Dwarka, but in Dwarka, Krishna in Dwarka is not the same as Krishna in Vrindavan. It's like if you want to go, to the topmost personality, that's Krishna in Vrindavan, and all of the associates in Vrindavan are the topmost, and Dwarka is like the next tier down.
Okay.
But Lord Chaitanya is actually teaching us to go.
So Dwarkadish is not the same.
Yeah, Dwarkadish is like the Lord of Dwarka, but that's like, you could just say it's like the second best realm of the spiritual world, but it's not even close. They're praying to one day be able to associate in Vrindavan. So it's, we got a lot of new people, so I don't want to get so far
It's
into...
okay, I was just curious.
No, it's good. It's good. I don't want to go so far of mapping out the entire spiritual world. And
You have Tulsi, did you bring in Ganga water back?
I didn't bring any Ganga water. I wasn't near the Ganga, unfortunately, on this trip.
Well, I'd say that based on you wish for water and water.
Yeah. So, fortunately, I have a way to get anything that I want, and I can share it with you guys if you'd like. Would you guys like a way to fulfill all of one's desires? Actually, I have something that's better than something that can fulfill all of your desires. Yeah, that's the process we're about to share. Because actually, by chanting the names of Krishna, you're associating with the Supreme Person. And just by that association, anything that you can desire, way better is going to come than anything you could even fathom in your mind. So don't... so I'd love to share that with you. Any other questions or reflections before we chant and do an arti? Kaushik.
I missed you far much.
Oh. Wow. I missed you so much too, Kaushik. So I'm so happy that you came. I saw when I was downstairs, I was doing a little studying before I was going to say anything today. And I saw your dad dumping salt along our walkway. And in one sense, I felt very irresponsible. And I was like, I should have had salt for this. Why is Bala over here doing it? But then at the same time, I was so excited. I was like, well, if Bala's dumping salt on my driveway, that must mean Kaushik is here. So I ran upstairs, and yes, that's when I saw you. So I was also missing you, Kaushik, and I'm so happy that you're back.
So one question, you said about ecstasy. Is it ecstasy or is it bliss? What
Well,
would be a better connotation?
Well, bliss is the cause of the ecstasy, right? So ecstasy, as far as I know, is like kind of bliss bubbling out and coming out, bubbling up. But yes, it's like a constant bliss, but
Because in spiritual bliss, there's a calmness too.
yeah. Well, it depends. Now, this is going to get very deep, but there's different rasas, ways to taste this bliss. So the most basic, foundational level of the Atmarams, right, is to be what's called Shanta, which is to be like kind of like a great sage, very calm, peaceful, composed. But actually, if we see in the Bhagavatam, the progression of the devotees, that Dasya is higher than, to be like the servant, to be the ecstatic emanation of always wanting to be of service, is even higher than the Shanta. They're all experiencing bliss, but it's even higher than the Shanta Bhakta, who's in deep meditation, absorbed in that way. To be in direct service, they're tasting a higher ecstatic bliss. But even higher than that is the friendship, the Sakya Ras. Those who are in direct friendship with Krishna, like say the cowherd boys in Vrindavan. So if you have this intimate friendship with the Supreme Person in Bhakti, the bliss that you're experiencing is far higher than even the servant. And then what's to speak of, say, if the Lord comes in your family like Mother Yashoda, and the bliss that they're feeling is even higher than that. And then what's to speak of the conjugal love, like between Krishna and the gopis? The ecstasy is unfathomable, you know, in comparison. They're all experiencing ananda or bliss, but the ecstasy, it's being churned and refined more and more and more in these higher rasas. And in the Bhagavatam explains that the conjugal ras is the highest. And actually, I didn't want to talk about this today, but you've churned it out of me that Lord Chaitanya was coming to teach this highest conjugal ras and sharing that we can experience ecstasy like this. And I personally have tasted so little of such a thing, but we met with devotees who have cultivated these practices and experienced these ecstasies at a higher level, and it's amazing just to even see and hear from them. So that's one thing. Thank you. That was a beautiful question. Manny.
To add to that question, I read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, like third canto, like verse like 24 something like that, 40 something. It says that when you just service God like in a selfless way, like that you even go higher than somebody like with the highest level of devotion. How's that? Like
I'd have to
somebody
see the
don't-
context.
Somebody don't expect anything out of God, but just to service
Yeah.
God.
Well, so maybe I'm going to try and rephrase and get
Yeah,
an
I think-
idea of what you're trying to say, because if someone has the highest level of devotion, it would be anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam. It wouldn't have any trace of material desire, karma, or jnana, the trying to, you know, cultivate or even figure out God. That it's not there. It's just purely out of bhakti or devotion. So in one sense, I think what you're trying to say, that if one who is fully in service to the Lord, it doesn't matter what kind of practices and, you know, scriptures they've read or, you know, meditation practices, it doesn't, you know, all those things are nothing in comparison to one's devotion. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It's something like that. But it says like a selfless like devotion for like Krishna.
You're gonna have to get me the verse,
Yeah, I'm gonna
and I'll look and I'll try and, because I can't.
Yeah.
I need a little more information, but that's good. Anything else from the gang here before we do kirtan? Okay. So happy Gaura Purnima. This is such a nice turnout. It's so nice to see so many people. I hope Parth, what do you think? You were on the cooking team. There's going to be enough food for this crew here. What's that? There will be plenty. So I'm going to end here, and I'm going to set up the